Yeah, so what I would say is this. You need to make sure that your budget is right size, but when there is a gap, okay, some speakers do have a certain degree of flexibility. It's challenging because, if it's 12,000, 18,000, well, from the speaker's bureau, and you're undercutting the speaker's bureau, there's no fee integrity. And you have to have some degree of integrity. Otherwise, it doesn't work for anybody, right? So putting that aside, most speakers do have some degree of flexibility, and the flexibility is essentially how do we trade value for value? So for example, that one colleague who traded for a all expenses paid vacation for her entire family. I've in my decades of doing this, that was the only time I've heard somebody do that. I'm sure other people have done it. I've not done that myself, but I have done some other things. What I would suggest is this: you go back to first principle as a meeting planner. You go back to first principle. What is the problem you're looking to solve? The problem isn't we need to fill the speaker slot. It's more about we need to move the audience from point A to point B. And as a result of that, what will hiring a particular speaker do to make that actually happen? And when there's a gap on the budget, maybe there's some more things that the speaker can actually do to actually move that needle and help you achieve the objectives in a way that you might not have thought of. Here's some ideas. It could very well be that the speaker has a bunch of books. Maybe you arrange for a copy of the book for everybody. Because the cost of the books for the speaker might be less, for example, than the cost of that you'd have to pay if you bought the books bulk from Amazon, right? You might be able to get a deal. It becomes a win-win. Everybody gets something. Maybe, and this is a little bit more current. Maybe the speaker's got a bunch of online training programs. Maybe there's a way to provide access to those training programs for everybody in the audience, or at a reduced cost. And so once you think about certain value adds of that nature, the value of that um, comes out of a different budget sometimes than the actual quote speaker budget. Maybe there's other resources that the speaker can provide. For example, some customized articles, designed to help achieve that particular goal. Maybe there's a way that you could use the speaker to goose up some of the sponsorship. Maybe, for example, you can have the speaker sit at a sponsor's table for lunch and auction off or raffle off access to that table. Maybe you could have the speaker sit, at a trade show vendor's booth, okay, to attract more people in to that particular vendor. Maybe you can actually get a vendor to defray part of the cost of the speaker. Maybe what you can do is you could ask the uh, the speaker if they would do a webinar version of their keynote, specifically designed for people who are not able to actually attend. Okay, or maybe do a webinar beforehand to give people a taste of what you'd be talking about, and to help sell attendance at the event. If the event costs $1,000 to attend, and you're able to sell 10, 15 more spots because people attended a webinar that the speaker agreed to do at perhaps even no cost beforehand, that pays for the speaker's entire fee, right? So there's all kinds of clever ways to actually bridge the gap between, called, gee, we only have a budget of 10, but your fee is 15. Okay. And it's a lot easier than you might imagine, but it involves having a speaker who says, I understand what the goals are. And if you want to achieve those goals, here's a bunch of other things I might be able to throw in. Here's something that happens for me quite often. So I'm doing the keynote, and guess what? I've done a huge amount of research, all the interviews and the customization and the discussion groups and the Facebook groups and all the other kinds of stuff. So I've done all that kind of homework. And the client says, we're having our board meeting. Can you address the board and talk about how to use the concepts that you talk about in the keynote for the organization's purpose? Gee, we're having an executive meeting, and can you sort of do a bit of a roundtable just to have maybe an Ask Me Anything with the executive team? gee, can you do a breakout session on how to implement some of the ideas that you're talking about, or to get people more tightly tied to that idea or a related idea, right? Well, guess what? The work's already done. Okay, so the cost of doing that extra thing would be relatively low, or perhaps even no cost, right? So the whole issue of fee, on the other hand, if you say, well, our budget's only $2,000, um, well, for me, I'm probably not the right speaker. I don't know how you could bridge that gap, etc. But on the other hand, maybe there is somebody who's just starting out, or a vendor who would do something for a low honorarium, right? But just be very careful. What's the goal of the actual event? And it always strikes me, just one other thing. What's the cost of a coffee and snack service, right? And you take a look at, say, a 500 person event, and it's, call it $5 per person for coffee. Okay, that's $2,500 for coffee. And if you want a little bit of food, all of a sudden you're up to, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars just for snacks, coffee and snacks. What if you were able to reduce the cost of that and say, people are not coming to the conference for coffee and snacks? Yeah, of course you're going to provide coffee and everything, but is there any way that you can do it in a cheap and cheerful way and move some of that money to the real reason why people are actually at the conference, right? Which is presumably to hear new ideas and to build greater relationships and be inspired, frankly. So that's always struck me as a funny kind of thing. And my job is to get on stage and make a big difference. It's not to scrutinize the budget line items and everything, but I always think that there's an interesting opportunity when you look outside the speaker budget, right?